Two of the most talked about celebrities in love and hip-hop, Kirk Frost and Mendeecees, are rumored to have been permanently banned from all of the game's main reality TV programs. However, it's not merely a dispute or backstage drama. Insiders are revealing information that could end entire franchises, including violent altercations that never should have occurred and much more serious accusations that are making the rounds. The fans didn't anticipate it. Silent nods during production meetings and whispers in the network office hallways marked the beginning of it all. Initially, nobody took any notice. In the Love and Drama series, Kirk Frost and Harris of Menk had always been divisive characters. Cast members are now split, fans are in disbelief, and the industry is desperately attempting to control the impact. How did things get out of hand? Why are established celebrities like Kirk and Mendes disappearing from the TV landscape? Is this the start of a larger conflict or the end of their careers? Keep your focus because you won't believe what's about to happen. Kirk failed to appear when he was scheduled to film a family segment with Rashida. Insiders believed it was something more serious just days before Kirk and Mindy were allegedly spotted fighting at a secret cast party. But producers said he pulled out at the last minute due to mental stress. They were adept at keeping the cameras moving and thrived on drama and turmoil. Something worse was simmering behind the scenes, though, and it quickly became impossible to ignore the reports. This time, though, something felt different. Kirk and MVCs began making audacious demands rather than collaborating with producers. Kirk refused to film scenes that portrayed him negatively because he insisted on controlling his story. Security had to keep them apart when Menks allegedly told one of the showrunners, "You don't get to tell my story unless I approve every word." Some claim fists were thrown, while others insist they were. Loved, the network wanted to avoid another big scandal, so they tried to hide it. Storylines were shortened, filming schedules were thrown into disarray, tensions swiftly increased, and other cast members lost patience. Tired of Kirk's failure to comply, Yandandy Smith, who had always openly supported Menks, began to withdraw behind closed doors. One producer who wished to remain unnamed told the blog, "They've always been difficult, but now it's like they want to run the whole show." Strange moments with Kirk and Mindy DC began to disappear, and episodes that had previously been full of their turmoil suddenly had new plots. Fans realized that, "I can't keep covering for him. If he wants to destroy his image, that's on him." The question, "Where's Kirk? What happened to MVCs?" started to circulate online. There were many theories on social media. Some people believed the show was already on quiet suspension, while others believed they were departing freely. But what no one saw coming was what transpired during it. A furious dispute erupted when Kirk Mendeecees and two executive producers showed up at the network office for a private meeting. An unnamed insider who witnessed the conversation said that Kirk was already incensed and charged the network with swaying his perception. Because he was sick of playing the villain, DC's backed him when he threatened to release unedited footage. "This show made me the bad guy, and now he wants to erase me." Kirk allegedly smashed his fist on the table and yelled when one producer tried to defuse the situation. Security was called, and Kirk and Mendeecees rushed out of the building. Later that day, an email was issued to the entire organization, refusing to elaborate and announcing that both guys were being put on an indefinite production halt. But it didn't end there. A leaked video of Kirk and Mindy's initial altercation at the cast party surfaced online. You could see everything, including the shouting, the pushing, and Kirk's attempt to rush forward before being held, even though it was blurry and clearly recorded on a phone. Following the video's shocking viral success, some admirers started supporting Kirk, and within hours, hashtags like #Kirksman and #Meltdown were trending on Twitter. Everyone watched as the mayhem spread into the real world, and the network went into full damage control. Then, in the most startling development, 2 weeks after the leaked film appeared, a legal notice was discreetly filed in court, stating that the network was ending all contracts with Kirk and Mendeecees, both present and prospective, since he had been pushed too far. Mendeecees was accused by others of being poisonous and domineering. Advertisers began to back off immediately after the uproar. According to reports, one significant sponsor put a hold on all upcoming agreements with the team. The admirers were shocked to hear the news. Due to several conduct infractions, threats against employees, and actions that harmed the network's brand, two of the biggest personalities in reality TV, Kirk and Mendeecees, were barred from all related reality TV programs. There were rumors that it was a setup, that it was long overdue, and even that previous cast members were weighing in. In an enigmatic Instagram story, Carly Red wrote, "Karma always comes around." People close to Kirk and Mendeecees stated they were both feeling betrayed and upset, but Kirk and Mendeecees stayed mute and made no public statements. Lil Scrappy Twitter, "Some folks forget cameras aren't the only thing recording." Behind the scenes, things were even more serious. Kirk was reportedly considering taking legal action because he believed the network had used him for ratings and then ignored him the moment he became inconvenient. It was said that Rashida got trapped in the middle. Be heartbroken by Kirk's professional failure as well as the way it was ruining their family. Yandy, who had spent years supporting Mans, believing in his growth, and helping him through his challenges as a parent in prison and the media, was also having a good time. One acquaintance wrote, "He's angry all the time, and it's like he's shutting everyone out." She felt the weight of his demise now that the business was turning its back on him, and according to sources, she sobbed in a private discussion with her manager, saying, "I don't know how to fix this." Kirk and Mendeecees are planning something big and wanted to reveal what really goes on behind the scenes, according to a source close to the situation. That's where the storm really started to build because, just when everyone thought the drama had reached its climax, a new layer of secrets began to surface, including private direct messages, whisper conversations, and even a deleted message. Kirk and Men weren't prepared to leave quietly in spite of the emotional consequences, so they began contacting independent producers, podcast hosts, and even rival reality TV shows to get their unvarnished and honest version of events. New, darker revelations that implied that Kirk and Mindy were battling not only for their jobs, but also to expose a system that had abused and then discarded them began to circulate the industry as the drama progressed. They were determined to be the last reality TV stars to endure this type of torture, even though they weren't the first. Something far more significant than a quarrel at a party or a canceled contract was hinted at in the leaked voice note that someone was able to recover. It may potentially upend reality television as we know it. The business was rocked by the recording, which confirmed what many had previously surmised. Kirk and Mindy never had complete control over their own narratives. Their ascent and decline were meticulously orchestrated, and the producers had capitalized on their personal conflicts, rivalries, and romances to boost viewership. They lost their jobs when the drama became unprofitable. To a few reliable insiders, a producer opened up about how Kirk and Mendeecees were treated in the last several months of their time on the show. The producer's voice was brimming with contempt as they declared, "They're just pawns." In a hasty attempt to limit the harm, the network claimed that the voices had been altered and denied the authenticity of the leaf recording, but it was too late, or thrown away as the voice message became widely known. Support for Kirk and Mendeecees began to grow among fans. The unvarnished truth made it clear that this is more significant than Kirk and Mendeecees, even though some viewers had long understood that the reality TV industry was manipulative. A supporter wrote, "This is about all the people who get exploited for the sake of entertainment. We need to know what really goes on behind the scenes." The damage had already been done recently. Overnight, the public's opinion of reality TV shifted, and viewers began to question everything they had been watching for years. But Kirk and Mendeecees had no intention of letting up. On the contrary, the voice note's discovery only strengthened their resolve. Journalists, podcast hosts, and even former cast members with tense relationships with the network began to be contacted. They weren't going to let their careers be destroyed without a fight. They were determined to reveal the truth about reality TV and topple the system that had exploited them. According to people close to Mendeecees, He has been consulting several renowned lawyers in anticipation of a court case that would upend the foundation of, purportedly preparing a lawsuit against the network for defamation, wrongful firing, and emotional distress against the industry's foundations. However, there were rumors that Kirk was preparing an open interview in which he would fully disclose all of the issues that had arisen during his tenure on the show. The personal lives of Kirk and Mendeecees began to unravel even further amid this turmoil. According to friends, Kirk, who had always been the more composed of the two, was clearly upset and would spend long evenings pacing his house. A close pal says he's haunted by the whole thing. Meanwhile, Rashida was enmeshed in a tornado of emotions. She had always been Kirk's staunchest ally, but now she was caught between her husband's allegiance and the truth of their circumstances. Although she wanted to be there for Kirk and support him through the craziness, she was unable to deny the emerging reality. When it became clear that Kirk had been duped by the same individuals who had formerly commended him for his spectacular plots, Rashida could no longer pretend that everything was all right. Because of the strain of the situation, Rashida even contemplated quitting love and hip-hop herself. Mendeecees and Yandy's relationship had always been fraught with ups and downs, but now that their futures were in doubt and the media was focusing on them, the tension between them was evident. According to insiders, Rashida was thinking about switching careers, either launching her own company or going into music independently. It's not just about the show anymore. It's about the family, the kids, their future, and she's stuck in the middle, and it's tearing her apart. A source said, as one friend put it, this is his chance to take down the entire system. He's not going to back down now. Kirk was quietly rebuilding his network of allies while Mendeecees was strategizing his next move. Mendeecees, however, seemed unconcerned with the strain in his personal life. Sources claimed that he was more focused than ever on his legal battle and his plans to expose the reality tape machine. He's on a mission. In response to former cast members who have fallen out with the show reaching out to offer their support and sharing their stories of exploitation and mistreatment, one anonymous former cast member told a popular blog, Kirk and Mendeecees were the first to really fight back. They're doing what a lot of us wanted to do, but we were too scared. The network doesn't just control your story, they control your career. Some even suggested that others have been duped in addition to Kirk and Mendeecees. You're done once you say something. But as the fight went on, the public didn't buy it, and the more the network retaliated, the more supporters gathered behind Kirk and Mendeecees' hashtag reveal aerial reality. Counter-narratives asserting that Kirk and Mendeecees were merely attempting to use their controversies to their advantage to remain relevant were disseminated by public relations teams. They portrayed them as resentful, unhappy former celebrities who were unable to come to terms with the fact that their time was over. Social media influencers entered the conversation as viewers started to demand transparency and responsibility, urging people to speak out against the exploitation of reality TV stars. As Kirk and Mendeecees' conflict continued, the future of love, hip-hop, and reality TV in general hung in the balance. One prominent influencer stated, "These shows make millions off our pain, and we've had enough." Was it the beginning of a greater conflict, or would they be able to overcome the industry titans? The controversy surrounding Kirk and Mendeecees' blacklisting escalated as their conflict grew increasingly heated. Their careers were no longer the only focus. The entire reality TV industry's sinister truths were to be revealed. By opposing the system that had benefited from their suffering for years, both celebrities had come to represent resistance, but the stakes were getting higher, and each action they took appeared to draw more attention from their supporters and detractors. The network was becoming desperate behind the scenes because they understood that their entire empire might be destroyed if Kirk and Mendeecees were successful in revealing the truth. The network began to leak negative information to the media, and gossip websites were flooded with allegations that Kirk and Mendeecees were poisonous behind the scenes, were difficult to deal with, and were merely wanting to stay in the spotlight by causing trouble. The network was clearly battling hard, doing all in their power to keep control of the reality tape machine and preserve their brand. But Kirk and Mendeecees weren't, if anything, giving up. The network, as well as the entire reality TV genre, may suffer greatly if the manufactured world of staged conflict, written drama, and exaggerated characters were to collapse. Using his social media platforms, Kirk in particular became a strong voice for the truth, sharing his version of events, behind-the-scenes videos from his time on Love and Hip Hop, and never-before-seen messages between him and the producers. Fans had never before seen this side of the industry, thanks to the uncensored, uncut film, which provided a window into the emotional toll, staged drama, and manipulation that reality TV stars had to deal with. Their tenacity in the face of the network's dread, which only served to affirm that they were headed in the right direction. We weren't just playing characters, we were being controlled. They told us what to say, who to fight with, who to love, and who to hate. They wanted drama, and we gave it to them. But when the camera stopped rolling, they stopped caring about us. And now they're trying to erase us. Kirk shared a powerful video message on social media, and fans showered the comment section with support for Kirk. One admirer said, "Thank you for speaking out. We deserve to know the truth. I always sensed that something wasn't right with reality TV." They responded with a flurry of counterattacks, arguing that Kirk's revelations were nothing more than a desperate attempt to stay relevant after his show was canceled. Meanwhile, Mendeecees was taking a different approach. Kirk's post was shared millions of times, and the hashtag #FretTheKings began trending. It was clear that Kirk's message was striking a chord with viewers who had long been wary of the network's manufactured nature of reality TV, but were still unwilling to let go of their narrative. Mendeecees was taking a more calculated approach than Kirk, who was focused on using social media to expose the network's corruption. He had secretly begun working with a group of investigative journalists in an attempt to uncover more damning evidence that would force the network to come clean, proving that reality TV was not just about drama, but also about profit manipulation and exploitation. Sources close to Mendeecees revealed that he was particularly focused on the financial side of things, demonstrating how the network profits from the pain and trauma of its stars. One insider shared, "He's not just interested in telling his story. He wants to expose the business behind the scenes he believes." The producer declared, "I've seen it all," in a special interview. In the midst of their conflict, Kirk and Mendeecees found an unexpected ally in the form of a former producer who had collaborated with them on Love and Hip Hop. The producer had recently left the show and reached out to both stars, offering to provide insider information that could aid them in their battle. "I was there when the show started, and I watched as it changed from something real into something fake. I can tell you right now, everything you've seen on that show was scripted." Fans had been wondering for years whether reality TV was real, but it was the first time someone with insider knowledge had confirmed their suspicions. The producer went on to explain how the network created drama by manipulating the relationships between cast members, fabricating storylines, and even staging fights. They knew what worked, so they gave it to the viewers, but the cast members were left to pick up the pieces, and we were all just pawns in the game. The producer's interview was a game changer, giving Kirk and Mendeecees even more ammunition to continue their fight. As Kirk and Mendeecees continued to move forward, they found themselves becoming increasingly isolated from their former peers. Many of their old industry friends who had once been eager to ride the wave of reality TV fame began to distance themselves from the two. Some were afraid of being implicated in the scandal, while others simply didn't want to risk their careers by speaking out. Nevertheless, Kirk and Mendeecees weren't deterred. They had already come this far, and they weren't about to back down now that they knew that. The network attempted to contain the damage by threatening legal action, but it was too late. The stakes were higher than ever, with Kirk preparing for a high-profile interview with a prominent news outlet in which he planned to reveal even more explosive details about his time on Love and Hip Hop NBC's, while he was putting the finishing touches on his legal case in hopes of finally receiving the justice he felt he deserved. The network was in full damage control mode, trying to keep the narrative under control and stop any more leaks from happening, but it appeared they were losing ground. They had the truth on their side and were determined to make sure it was revealed with their next move. The battle between Kirk Mendeecees and the network reached a boiling point when the two stars were called to appear before a private panel of industry executives. The network, now desperate to protect its brand, was doing everything in its power to try to bury the scandal. But the two remained steadfast in their determination to expose the truth about the exploitation of reality TV stars. We were at the center of it all as Kirk and Minnie continued to fight the reality TIG empire. An executive sat behind a long, polished table, their face stoic and unreadable. The panel, which included high-ranking members of the network, had one goal: to persuade Kirk and Mendeecees to back down and end their crusade. Both men dreaded the meeting, but knew they had to go because the stakes were higher than ever. At the head of the table was a familiar face, the showrunner of Love and Hip Hop, who had played a major part in their ascent to fame and now played a major part in their downfall. "We're not going to back down," he stated in a loud and resolute voice, "and we understand your frustrations. We've been following your statements closely." The guys who had been quieter during the discussion finally spoke up. "We are aware that reality TV might be difficult, but we must keep in mind that it is a business. But what you're doing isn't right. You're not just manipulating the audience, you're manipulating us, and you're making money off our pain," he continued, his face hardening and his arms crossed. "I've been in this game long enough to know how it works. We want the world to know what's really been going on behind the scenes. You took advantage of us. You built us up, then you destroyed us, and now you want to erase us," Kirk responded. "You both have been a part of something much bigger than yourselves. You owe your careers to this show, and now you want to throw it all away. We don't owe you anything," the showrunner said, his expression unchanging but clearly frustrated. The showrunner's expression clouded, and he leaned forward slightly, saying, "Well, we're not going away quietly. We're telling the truth. You think you can ruin them." The meeting ended without a resolution, and Kirk and Menk left the room with the knowledge that the battle was far from over. If you think you can change the way reality still works, you're delusional because you're just too blind to see it. The network had made it clear that they were willing to do whatever it took to protect their brand, but Kirk and Mindy were equally determined to expose the truth at any cost. It was getting hotter, and the fallout from their revelations was spreading like wildfire, with fans and industry insiders weighing in on the scandal. However, the network wasn't keeping quiet either. They launched a media campaign accusing Kirk and Mendeecees of being ungrateful and jealous of their success, and for a while, it seemed to be working, as some fans began to turn against them, accusing them of trying to destroy the reality TV industry out of spite because they wouldn't exist without the show. One comment read, "Now they're just bitter." Kirk and Mendeecees, however, weren't letting the criticism get to them. The stakes couldn't have been higher. If he could reveal the truth, it would be a game changer, not just for him and Minx, but for the entire industry. Instead, they stepped up their efforts to expose the truth. VC's cool-headed strategy started releasing more evidence, including behind-the-scenes footage, emails, and text messages, showing the extent to which the network had manipulated their storylines and exploited their personal lives for financial gain. Kirk was preparing for a high-profile live interview in which he would directly challenge the network's executives. On the day of the interview, millions of viewers tuned in, waiting to hear what Kirk would say. The network held its breath as Kirk took his seat on stage, and the air was heavy with anticipation. The entire reality TV industry was tense as the interview day approached, and the network was frantically trying to figure out how to stop the interview. They even offered Kirk a substantial sum of money in exchange for his silence, but Kirk refused to back down, saying in a statement, "I'm not doing it for the money," and that he was doing this for the truth. It's not just about the drama. It's about how they used us to make money. They didn't care about our well-being. They only cared about ratings. Kirk's interview became a turning point in Kirk and Mendeecees' fight for the truth. Kirk has been vocal about the exploitation of reality TV stars. Please tell us more about what's been going on behind the scenes. Kirk's response was powerful as he began to recount the events that led to his decision to speak out. He talked about the network's manipulation, emotional toll, and control over his life. His words were unfiltered and raw, and the audience listened intently, hanging on every word. Kirk and Mem had become symbols of resistance in an industry based on exploitation. Their fight was not only for their redemption, but also for the truth to be heard and for future generations of reality stars to know they wouldn't be silenced. The network was shaken by the revelations and now faced an uncertain future. Would they be able to regain control of the narrative, or had Kirk and Mendeecees changed the game forever? The host thanked Kirk for his courage as the interview came to a close, but the battle was far from over. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed this dramatic turn in reality TV. As the drama unfolds, it's unclear whether Kirk and Mendeecees will be able to reclaim their careers and expose the truth, or if the network will be able to silence them forever. We want to hear your thoughts on the shocking events that have occurred. Do you think they're doing the right thing by speaking out, or do you think they're just causing chaos for their gain? To make sure you don't miss any new updates, click the channel's bell symbol. Watch the video and return often for the latest details on Kirk Mendeecees and all the reality TV behind-the-scenes drama. We value your support and will keep giving you the tales you're yearning for. Make sure to share this video with your friends and let's have a conversation. See you later. Duration.